What is up, everybody? Mr. Lowkey here, wishing you a good evening. And yep, I'm still talking about Squid Game or Ojingeo game. And I finally watched some of it. I'm on the last episode, and it is very bingeable. I'm an anti content binger. I think it's a very dangerous and slippery slope to go down. And oh, hello there. We've got a viewer. Hello, viewer. Please comment below. Let's get a conversation going. Have you watched Squid Game? Are you aware of the hype? Shall I give you an update on what it is about? It is a really interesting, well shot, viral Netflix show, season one, out of Daehan Mingguk, South Korea. And this show has got a lot of good things going for it. The they really know how to play with your emotions, much like Kimetsu no Yaiba, the Demon Slayer movie. They really build up. They really put the knife in you and twist it, and really get you right in the heartstrings. Like, oh, I can't believe they build up to such hardcore stuff. Oh, hello, viewer. Welcome back. Please comment. Have you seen Squid Game? What about Squid Game was hitting you and why? And the way that show really gets emotional is what makes it so relatable. I can really picture myself in a lot of the characters' shoes, some of the frustration that they feel, and how we're all chasing the moolah, we're all chasing the money, and just how so much happens. And I've been watching all types of breakdown videos about it and looking up so many Easter eggs, and they're all over the internet. And shout out to those content creators who are making them. There's really some amazing insight in there. But this particular live stream, I love life lessons, and I love things that I can implement in my own life that I pick up from media. And as much as I love entertainment value, I'm leaning more towards education value or things that I can take to help me propel further into the directions I want to go in. So, with that said, and I'm still talking about Squid Game, so there's still more to unpack with this show. It's quite dense with goodies. Yeah, I could call it that. Very dense with good stuff. And just looking at how beautifully it's filmed, it the director of photography is really chef's kiss. It is really, really, it's they're very subtle little things that are so iconic, and they represent so many ideas within one shot. You can see a lot of subliminal stuff being said with just comments on society, self understanding, toxic habits. For example, like I always have to list things and go back and go in more detail about what I'm talking about. So it's very interesting how the protagonist, Kihun, and how they show his personality in the show initially, and how he is a natural gambler. Shout out to Gamblers Crew in South Korea. You need deserve a Netflix show too. But how he he falls into life's traps purely by nature, just the way he is and the way he is about money. And when he gets the high from a win, he never thinks to save or protect his money or put it on a bank card. He likes to have that flash and that validation. And it's always short lived, and he gets himself into trouble again. And just how very subtly the show, like, for example, the part where they have the option to leave the game if the majority decide not to play. But in a way, that's such a false idea of freedom, in that naturally the majority of natural gamblers would come back anyway. So that idea of a freedom or of a choice is in fact false. And I like how the show puts it in that real life is exactly the same way. A lot of the certain freedoms we sometimes feel, our natural choice, our way of being already, is going to force us to go in a predetermined, direction already. So the idea of them having any real choice or them affecting their destiny is an illusion. It's just a distraction. What those particular people were either going to face the Squid Game in that particular show or face the Squid Game in real life. So it was really eye opening and scary about how a lot of what they were doing is trying to fight their own nature, in that even if they had won that game, I still feel that a lot of their toxic habits were going to still get them into trouble. Maybe it's it's I'm reaching by saying that. I'm sure, so many billions of one, that massive prize money is life changing, and I can attest to how even sometimes a small amount of money is life changing. But more so is breaking habits of behavior. And furthermore, looking into the Easter eggs, they have written the script for that show so consistently of how a character's nature, how the character's nature are their flaws that get them into a lot of trouble, and how sometimes even endearing characteristics, having being good natured, can get you into a lot of trouble as well. And how, for example, Ali Abdul, shout out to Ali Abdul, Pakistan represent, his trusting nature with his boss initially, who hadn't paid him, is in fact what got him into such horrible debt and created a lot of problems. And much like the very toxic employer who hired him ended up being his undoing, him with Sangwoo, and how Sangwoo is considered the genius of Sangdong, and how he manipulated Ali's naivete and trust, and just how the two things echo of how what's happening in real life is mirrored in the Squid Game as well. And, that was just so interesting. And how the character Gihun as well, him with the scene where they're playing the marbles and how he's manipulating number one's pretend dementia, while when previously he was stealing money from his mother's bank card. And I'm like, he he is more than happy to manipulate to facilitate his need to gamble, his need to win, his need to feel validated. And I found how everything that happens in they show to you, there's no fluff in Squid Game. It's all content. It's all important content. It's all relevant to the story. It's all leading somewhere. It is such an engaging show that every little thing they show you is relevant. There's no misplaced anything. The pacing is chef's kiss. It is once the problem with Squid Game is that once you've watched a show like that, it's tough to watch other things because it's like they aren't as well crafted and put together. It's a very nice little package, and the way that they starting with the show, the way that they introduce new elements at the right time and introduce new characters to just really mix things up, and they are not shy or at all or hesitant to get rid of characters. It feels like no one or two characters are carrying the entire show. They are just chopping and changing, chopping and changing. In fact, the year 2020, I was getting rid of people like Squid Game who were getting in the way of my bag. So in the me chasing my bag, I had to drop a lot of people like Squid Game and just keep going because It was such an interesting allegory for competition and just natural competition that exists, through nature and just life in its own way. Especially if you've ever worked in the corporate world, uh, for any of like the big four firms, like people are more than willing to step on you, you use you as a stepping stone to where they want to go, and just the part with the tempered glass and the bridge, that might as well have been the corporate bridge. When climbing the corporate ladder, so many people are so happy to send you to your doom for their benefit. They'll use you to test out a system or use you as fodder, um, so often. And I related to that so much. I was like, wow, they are presenting so many relatable things, and for them to have planned out those particular challenges and games in that way, there's something so poetic about it. Maybe I'm reaching. Maybe when I can kind of see why so many people internationally relate to this show, because it's a life show. So many things that they say and do um, are part of the human experience, whether you're South Korean or wherever you may be, wherever Wei Kukin you are. It, there's a lot that happens in that show where you're like, yeah, I kind of know someone like that. Oh, I know a person like this too. Oh, I know another person like this too. And the entire show is super relatable. I'll call it that. The entire show is super relatable, and the actors make you feel so much feeling, and the the jokes too aren't cheesy. And usually, when shows try to do humor, it doesn't always connect. But when this particular show goes for its humor, it doesn't distract from the tension and the thrill you feel. Moving on, the cinematography as well is, it feels very, how can I put it? There's a particular Korean style where things are super clean and a need for a slow motion shot to give big emphasis, like we're in an action movie. When they were throwing the marbles, and just how the colors and contrast just really pop, with that Samsung plasma screen. Like there's it's planned. They've really planned parts for you to really, feel engaged, and payoffs to each scene. Like it build up, build up, build up, emotion, 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 payoff, cliffhanger. There's a very nice recipe or formula to the way they do things, and it is very, very, very nice. I'm I'm taking away little things from each particular episode, and just the overall show feels like a very nicely paced movie, if I could call it that. It really has those nice little elements, the costume design, and just the general feel, the deterioration of the costumes as they're continuing. Where the show starts, the costumes are nice and bright, and as the games go in, the shoes are dirtied, bloodied. Guys have got that 5 o'clock shadow. They're looking rough. People have lost shirts, and the switching of number 456 jacket, when they swap jackets with number one, and you're just like, ooh, very subtle, nice little touches and symbolism, but not cheesy symbolism, but the right type of um, of little messages and theatrical elements that they really added. And I I can like I like to film projects as well and make creative things, and I really appreciate the little, you know, I appreciate the craft. I appreciate the craftsmanship that went into it, and just the way the script was written. It I really don't want to make the comparison, but I'll make the connection to Parasite and how there's there's a depth to each thing, and just so much about society and the human experience, much like a Ghibli movie as well. For anyone who's watched Spirited Away, like the first time I saw it, just wasn't clicking until I watched several breakdown movies about it, and just how a lot of very, very good movies or that are very relatable have very subtle messages about social psychology, behavioral psychology, and it seems to be a lot of the fuel for a lot of very, very good scripts. My dreaming, and of course, more content coming soon. Good night for now.